Hi everybody, I'm Natalie with Missouri Star Quilt Company, and today on Quilting 101 we're going to talk about the basic parts of a quilt. So most of your quilts are going to be made up of blocks. So this section right here would be a block, and then within that block will be smaller pieces, and sometimes in patterns these are called units. So this piece right here or this strip right here could be called a unit, and then the units make up the larger block. Then your blocks are going to be put together in rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks in the first row. Sometimes in a quilt pattern, they'll say to put together a section or a quadrant. And that just means that like these 6 blocks or 9 blocks right here could be a quadrant. So you're going to sew these together, and then you're going to sew this quadrant together and join them. So that's what it means in the pattern. If you're sewing quadrants or sections, it's just a smaller part of the larger quilt top. The next thing is borders. So we have inner borders and outer borders, and occasionally you'll have more than 2. Sometimes you have no borders at all. Sometimes the borders have smaller pieces in them. So if it lists a piece border, that's what that is. It'll have little blocks in it, sometimes flying geese, sometimes squares or other parts of the quilt. A lot of people like to use leftover pieces from their projects in their borders. So you can have an inner border, a pieced border, and then like a middle border, and then an outer border. So those go on the edge. They typically make up a beautiful frame for the inside of your quilt. Then we're going to have this edge right here. Well, actually, I'm going to talk about backing first. So the backing is what makes up the back of the quilt. And then in between the backing and the top layer is a layer called batting. Batting is typically made of cotton or cotton poly. It can also be wool or bamboo, or a blend of some of those. And that's what makes your quilt fluffy or heavy. A high loft is going to be really fat, real fluffy, and a low loft will be flat and a lighter weight. So once you're ready to join your backing, your batting, and your quilt top, you're going to do a little bit of machine quilting, or you're going to tie it. There's a lot of different ways to put your quilt together to finish it, but that would be the final stitching pattern. So it could be machine quilting through a long arm. You could stitch it on your home machine. You could tie it with thread or yarn. There's a lot of different ways to finish that, but that's what is referred to often as machine quilting. And then your binding. Your binding is the last thing that you do once your quilt is sewn together and quilted to the batting and backing. You're going to want to trim it and then add your binding. And the binding is the part that makes the quilt complete. It covers that raw edge. And there are several different ways to bind a quilt. You can do a single fold, a double fold, a self-binding, a knife edge. There's as many ways as you can think of. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure I haven't thought of them all. But that makes up the basics of a typical quilt. Thanks so much for joining me today on Quilting 101. See you next time.
Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. We hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you aren't already part of the Missouri Star Quilt Company family, be sure to subscribe so you won't miss a thing. And if you click that bell, it'll notify you every time a new tutorial comes out. See you next Friday.